Hey everybody, this is Roy Canning, and today I'm taking a look at One Piece Luffy's Bento Panic the Game. This is a game about pirates stealing food from each other on the ship. I'm a huge fan of anime in general and a big fan of One Piece, so I was really excited when I saw this game came out. I love the way it looks, so I was like, I really want to jump into this. So let's get down to the table and see how it plays. In Luffy's Bento Panic, everybody's going to play a different character from the pirate crew here, and it's cool because you have all of the main characters from the pirate crew, and then you have all sorts of different characters here from the crew, which is just cool to see, and they all have different favorite foods, and then on the opposite side they have special abilities, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But at the beginning of the game, to set it up, you all are going to take 4 of each character's favorite food. You're going to pass 2 to the player to your left, 2 to the player to your right, and then everybody should have a setup like this in a 4-player game. Like say you have different characters, they would have different favorite foods, and then the point of this game is to eat as much food as possible. You're going to be taking food from your plate, which is in front of your player board, and trying to get it into your bento after you eat it, which will actually count for scoring. So actually putting it on your card there. So you're basically trying to figure out a way to get as many of those as you can. Whenever you take any food, it is always going to be stacked into different piles of the same type. So then when you take other actions to eat and such, you will be doing that. We are also trying to avoid Luffy getting attracted by having too much meat on our plate and then coming and eating all of that meat from that as well. So I will just kind of go through the different actions in this game. Each round you're going to use your 2 hands to do different actions. So you have several different actions here. You can either each turn simultaneously, the captain's going to say 1, 2, 3, and then you're all going to either point or use your hands in different ways to do those actions. So the first one here is grab. So if you point one of your hands at the bag, you will draw 2 tiles out of the bag. If you point 2 of your hands at the bag, you draw 4 tiles out of the bag. You can eat, which means you put your hand up to your mouth, which is hard to show when I'm doing this person. But yeah, you put it on your mouth, and that would be eating. That means that you could take one of your piles, so an entire stack of things, and add it to your bento. That will be there for scoring. That means it is now safe. Then the next action is steal. So you can point at another player. So you would point at one of the other players, and that would mean that you are trying to steal from them. There is an order that all this happens because stealing happens before eating. If you're pointing at someone and they're not blocking or stealing back to you, then you will be able to take one of the piles in front of them. If they are also trying to steal back at your direction, they both cancel out and neither of you are able to steal. You can use both of your hands to point at one person, and it would be able to get through, but you're still only going to steal once from them. But if they try to block, or if they try to steal back from you, then you would still be able to get through and they would not get through. And you can also do a block action, one direction or another, stopping people from stealing stuff from you. And then there's also a hand signal for special ability. After you've been stolen from, your special ability would be active on your board, and that would flip up and down depending on your character. Whenever you've been stolen from, it activates your special ability, and then you would be able to trigger that. Like Chopper's here specifically says, hey, cancel a steal action at you, and then you get to eat for each pirate that attempts to steal from you. So if people are trying to steal from Chopper a lot, he gets to eat food for free, which seems awesome. And we'll talk about the other special abilities in a little bit as well, but that is how the special ability action works, and you don't use that if you're doing a basic or first game. So the order this happens at is all the steals trigger, then all the eats trigger, then people are going to grab from the bag. Grabbing from the bag is really important in this game because that is one of the ways that can trigger Luffy coming after you. So whenever you grab from the bag, you're going to draw a couple. So say Chopper did that. I drew a couple meat tokens here, so nothing too crazy happens, but the meat tokens are dangerous because while it's in front of you, it tempts Luffy. If you draw other tokens, you would just have them, and they would just kind of go to separate piles. So if you have different types of food, they go to separate piles. If you get your own, or if you get another type of food that's that same type, it would go to the same pile. If you get your favorite food, there's a very special thing that happens with that, is whenever you do an eat action, you can always add one of your favorite food. Like say I did an eat action also on my next turn, I could say, oh, I'm going to choose this rice cakes pile, and I will eat that as well. But probably more strategically, I should say, I'm going to choose the meat pile and eat that, because once it's already eaten, it's no longer going to tempt Luffy to get you. If you ever pull juicy meat out of the bag, it has Luffy on the back of it, that will trigger Luffy to get hungrier and come to attack everyone. So this will move down 1 space. Once this gets all the way to 0, basically everybody will count up the meat tokens that are in front of them. The juicy meat and the regular meat tokens all go in the same stack. Whoever has the most of those or are tied for the most of those would return all of their stuff that they have on their plate, not the stuff in the bento, all the stuff in the plate that they have in front of them, to the bag. Basically, you've kind of pressed your luck too far, and Luffy got hungry, and seeing all the meat in front of you, you weren't able to hide the meat from him in time, and he gobbled up all of your food. So yeah, that's basically kind of how that works and how all of the different actions work. And let's kind of go through the characters here a little bit. So like I said, Chopper has a thing to stop you from stealing. Nami has, for each neighbor that's performing a grab action, take 2 food tokens from their plate after they grab. So Nami's gonna steal if you grab, and you have to, of course, have your ability active, which has to be activated by somebody stealing from you first. Then we have Sanji here. He can eat. When he does eat, food piles with only 1 food token may be treated as your favorite food. So he likes to eat all the different foods, and that way you can stack food tokens and be able to eat food faster, because all of them can be counted as your favorite food. That's cool. 3 swords here. While you're performing a special action pose, look left or right or at the bag. Steal one from both neighbors with 1 hand. Gain a hand pointing the direction that you look as well. So you do the special action, and then you're kind of like stealing from everybody or grabbing from the bag, depending on which way you're looking. And then here, neighbors performing a steal action on the pirate that isn't you, gain an extra hand in that steal. So you're forcing people to steal even more. If it succeeds, take a food pile from that pirate instead of them. Nice. So you're able to steal, and that's just more of like switching around who has what. Firebird Star. If a neighbor performs an eat action before any pirate steals, take a food pile from their plate, even meat, and move it to your bento box. Cool. And then we have Frankie here. He has attempt to steal with 2 hands from both neighbors. Cool. So you can be like, you flip your token over, and it's like, well, now I'm stealing from both of you, and you're not going to be able to block it. Well, you could block it. You're just not going to be able to like steal back to block, you know. Next round, your neighbors must repeat the action they performed with the hand closest to you. So you're basically forcing someone to do the same action multiple times, but that way you're going to know what they're doing. And then here, steal actions pointed at, cancel a steal action pointed at you. Take 1 food plate, or take 1 food pile from any plate that attempted to steal from you. So this is kind of like Chopper, but instead of letting you eat for free, you get to steal back when somebody tries to steal from you. So those are all cool as well. And then another thing to note, when you're doing in-game scoring, the game ends when either A, all the tiles are going from the bag, which is probably not going to happen, or the first round, once Luffy attacks, you do a second round of Luffy attacking, and then you go to last call. Then every time a juicy meat comes out, it's going to move the token 2 spaces instead of just 1, so it's going to happen very quickly, and then that will trigger the end of the game. Everybody will count up all of their tokens. Each of the tokens is worth 1 point, except for each token is worth 2 points, sorry, and then each meat is worth 3 points. So if you're able to bury that meat and get that meat actually eaten before Luffy grabs it all from you. Another thing to note is you can't actually, I showed meat being taken at the beginning, but I should have mentioned you can't actually eat meat at all unless you have a pile of 5 meat. To be able to take. So you can't choose meat to be eaten unless you have at least 5. You can add your favorite food into that to push that up to 5. Like say Chopper had this. He had 4 meat here, and then he had a cotton candy. He'd be able to use the cotton candy to push that to 5 and be able to take it, which would be huge because that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You get a ton of points off of that, being able to eat all of that meat if you're able to sneak it away before Luffy comes and steals it from you by having too many of those juicy meats come out of the bag. But yeah, that is how you play Luffy's Bento Panic One Piece. All right, so this is a game that's very much take that about stealing the different food from each other and doing different hand signals. It's kind of interesting as you're kind of like pointing different directions. You have to be very careful and cognizant of like, oh, I meant to block. That kind of can mess it up. I do like the fact that it is simultaneous though, so it keeps the downtime kind of away. And there is rules in the rule book for like what happens in situations where people are all pointing in a circle, who gets to steal first and things like that. Each round there is a captain, so it can also kind of like break the timing for that. The rulebook covers all of those sort of things as well. But this is a game of like stealing things from each other and doing different kind of semi-silly hand signals and pointing at the bag or doing like this or like eating food. That's not necessarily my style of game. But if you want a super light-ish party game that you're doing that back and forth, I play this with my kids, and my kids love One Piece. My daughter was even wearing her little chopper hat while we were playing the game. And so we went into this with like a lot of like excitement, being excited about it, because I want to see more anime games that are like really exciting and fun and people really want to get to the table. But for me, like this is just a game of take that, like grabbing stuff from each other, hoping that Luffy doesn't come out and grab all of your stuff, but you're really never sure if that's gonna happen. You're forced to keep your meat tokens so that way it kind of piles up. So it's like, if you draw meat from the bag, it's great because it'll give you a ton of points if you're able to figure out a way to get it eaten. But yeah, it's just kind of a little bit hard to judge. It feels pretty random and all of that. And then I had a lot of issues with like trying to do the hand signals. Even myself, when we're counting down, it's like, wait, which way do I point? So pointing at the bag itself, it's kind of weird because like even in the thing here, it's like, oh, one of the actions you can take is grab, and it just shows the bag. But you're supposed to be pointing at the bag, but depending where the bag is, you know, I guess you need to keep the bag in the middle of the table, then everybody points in the middle instead of pointing to the sides. I almost wish that this was like some sort of two hands of cards or something like that, like steal left, steal right. So that way you could have it, set it out, and know for sure without people being like, it was pointing, blocking, you know, that sort of thing could happen and people could just be slightly confused as you're doing that. But yeah, I love the theme on it. I love the production. I really enjoy the graphic design. I think the concept is kind of good, but when it comes all together for me, I don't enjoy just the take that nature of stealing things from the other player constantly and having to like hope for pressure luck. I mean, it is cute, the theme with Luffy coming in and eating everybody's food. I think it's kind of funny, but like this IP is such an amazing IP. I love One Piece. I love the story behind it, and there's so many amazing things you can do with this theme that like this was pretty much a decent letdown for me of like, dang, when am I gonna get a good like One Piece game? Like when am I gonna get one that's gonna like really attract me? I can see people that want to have a casual like drinking style game, having fun with this, with the haha of pointing and stuff like that. But if you're drinking, the whole pointing thing might be a little bit too sloppy to like actually make it happen. And I don't drink, so this is kind of not really in my wheelhouse. I'm giving this a 4 overall. It's just not something that I'm going to come back to. But I was super high hopes for this. But I do hope in the future that I can see more exciting anime-themed games. Definitely don't let publishers be shy away from using these sort of themes because I want to see awesome ones. Anyway, that is Luffy's Bento Panic for me. Anyway, I've been Roy Kennedy, and I'll see you on the next one.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video on the Dice Tower. Hey, do you want to know what's going on with Dice Tower? Do you want to know about our events, our cruises, special things that we're going to do live here in the Dice Tower? Subscribe to Dice Tower Digest. Go to dicetowerdigest.com. It's a newsletter that we send out bi-weekly. We won't use your email for anything else. This is just to get you some information about the Dice Tower so you'll be up to date. Thanks for watching.